All right. So good morning for those of you all that are over here in Japan. Good evening for those of you all that are on the East Coast of the United States. And well, I guess good afternoon / evening for those that are on the West Coast. Welcome to the MSC-IPP mentoring session for today, where we will discuss the package and the process in hopes to make your journey a little bit easier for you. The majority of, or all the panel members that are here today have been in the shoes that you are now getting ready to walk in. So we are here to give back to you. Who I have here today, I would like to introduce the panel members, if you don't mind. And so here today, we have Ensign Andriot, Ensign Law, Ensign Select Lewis, Lieutenant J.G. Torgerson, who will be there very soon in training, Ensign Select Yao, Lieutenant Flores. Oh man, I might not get this one right. Houdini, I'm gonna let you say your name.
Lieutenant J.G. Aminogu.
All right, we called him Houdini out here, so I didn't want to butcher it. Thanks, brother. Lieutenant Presley.
Present.
And we have, make sure I didn't miss anyone. Lieutenant J.G. Select. I hope I get this one right. Melatici.
You got it right.
All right, look at that. Melatici. And myself, Lieutenant J.P. McCauley, and I think that covers everyone. Any panel members, did I forget you?
Yeah, myself and Nigel Kassoon.
Awesome. Lieutenant J.G. Kassoon, Lieutenant J.G. Select Kassoon.
Then Ensign Select White.
Ensign Select White. There we go. So many names. So many names. So if I get you, charge it to my head, not my heart. All right. Now, before we move forward, there is something special that I think we all would like to do, and we should do. We have Lieutenant Abreu on the line. And if you don't know who Lieutenant Abreu is, then I'm going to take it as you're probably very new to the Medical Service Corps mentoring page, both pages, because Lieutenant Abreu has been very active in assisting the majority, if not all of us, along our commissioning path and getting to where we are today. If you just scroll through the MSC pages, you will find so many documents, so many videos. This man has devoted so much of his time to giving back to everyone to be selected as a Medical Service Corps officer. So before going forward, I would like just for everyone, if you don't mind, to please give a small round of applause for Lieutenant Abreu and everything that he's done for us. Lieutenant Abreu, if you have any words that you want to share, this is your time. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thank you so much, Lieutenant J.G. McCauley and everybody. Sorry, I'm not in my typical studio. I know everybody's expecting my fancy lights and stuff. I'm actually multitasking right now for my local chapter here in Tidewater for ACHE. But I just want to say thank you for that appreciation. I see a lot of familiar names in the panel right now. Congratulations to you. Well deserved. And for those that are tuning in and listening in to these amazing individuals, thank you, Lieutenant J.G. McCauley. The Corpsman community and now the MSC community is very grateful for what you're doing right now. I know it is in your blood to just mentor and give back. And that's what I tell a lot to individuals is the reason why I do what I do is because people help me to get where I'm at. So if you are a Mustang, part of our job is to make sure we are the gatekeepers of our Medical Service Corps, and call that cheesy, but even Admiral Case, our Corps Chief, says that he really relies on the Mustangs to be the gatekeepers. So if that's not your wheelhouse right now, I highly recommend you do that. And for those that are tuning in and listening in, pay close attention to these individuals that just got selected, not to copy their package, not to do some sort of copy paste, but honestly understand their journey. And pick the one that you can relate to. Who's that person that was overage and got a waiver? Who's that person that was trying to submit for HCA first time, second time, third time, fourth time, etc. But really excited. I'm just here listening in the background, but this is for the panel, their most recent selects who's very familiar with the process and the most recent process. And as always, I'm always available via social media. If you message me, I typically respond right away. Other than that, thank you so much. And Lieutenant J. McCauley, thank you for the very nice shout out. Truly appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you again, Lieutenant Brave. Yes, all right. Let's go ahead and move forward so we can get this party started. A quick opening remarks. And Lieutenant Brave covered that actually. He gave the opening remarks. Yes, today, for all of you all that are traveling down this path, this journey of aspiring to become a medical service corps officer, today is not the day for us to hold your hand, okay? Today is not the day for us to give you the answers. Today is the day for us to mentor you and give you sound advice and to help you along your journey and to point you in the right direction.
Connected to log machine 30.
And whoever's not on mute, please go on mute, please. But yes, so today is to help you along your journey and give back to you. I will tell you, if you don't know, the Medical Service Corps is a very proud community, and the IPP program is very, very competitive, very competitive. So think along. All right. Let's go mute them myself. How about that? All right. So very, very, very competitive community. And I want you to think along the lines of, you can be fully qualified to be selected, but we're looking for the best qualified to be selected. So your package has to be on point. It has to be spectacular. Okay. And that's what we're here for today. So moving forward, let's go ahead and dive into two things. One, the instruction. All right. Hopefully everyone knows the commissioning instruction, OpNav instruction 1420.1 Bravo. If you look at the screen, you can go to My Navy HR and you can locate the instruction as well as a plethora of other information. The instruction itself, if you go to the instruction itself, there's, as you can see, many chapters. You have your basic chapters, the introduction and the application, and then you have chapter 6, which specifically covers MSC-IPP. All right, so at a bare minimum, you need to know this instruction. You need to know the basic guidelines and what it's looking for. That you should already know before you come to your mentor about questions, because they're going to expect you to know this basic information. After you have read and know the instruction, the next thing that you need to know is the nav admin. And that is right here. So every year there is a nav admin that is posted on that HR for that active year that's convening. Hold on, I think we got another person that's not on mute. All right. If your phone is not on mute, please mute your phone and or background.
Come last Fair Square.
Gotta love it. All right. So the nav admin for this year has dropped already. Read through it. And I'm not going to go through this entire nav admin with you. Read through it. You need to know these, because there are a few things in this nav admin that even the panel members will tell you are very different from last year and the years before. So I'm not going to tell you what it is, because we expect you to go through and read that and highlight that and know what it is. All right. But know the nav admin, know the instructions. And if you got those two out the way, then you go up to your mentor and say, okay, hey, how do we move forward with my package? All right. That's all I have for the instruction in the nav admin. Again, please know it, very important. And now we're going to go ahead and move into the actual package process. So without further ado, I am going to now turn over to Lieutenant JG Select Torgerson to cover letter of recommendations. You have it.
Morning, everyone. Can everyone hear me just fine?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So letter of recommendations. We're going to make this real short and sweet today. Most common questions that I usually get on letters of recommendation is, who should I get them from? Does it have to be an MSC officer? Does it have to be, in my case, a healthcare administrator? It doesn't have to be, but I personally think you're doing yourself a disservice by not getting that letter of recommendation from your prospective field. Those people sitting on those boards are going to be the people that you want to recognize those names on your letter of recommendations. So for me, my LORs were all from healthcare administrators. And then the next question I get a lot of the time is, how many do I need? You know, instruction says minimum of 1, maximum of 4. And I personally just go quality over quantity. Make sure those letter of recommendations reverberate what your package is telling the board. My first time up, when I didn't get selected, I maxed them out, had 4 or 5 letter of recommendations in there, captains all across the board, didn't make it. Next time I went up, I had an 06 that was a prior specialty leader. So obviously his name probably carried a lot of weight. And then I had an 04 who was my director. So I feel like that covered about 7-8 years of my career, and kind of showed that sustained superior performance. So definitely quality over quantity on those letters of recommendations, and make sure you're getting those good names, those good MSC officers that are going to carry that weight for you to the board. That's what I got on that, sir.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You definitely did not hit the 5-minute mark. That is great. So now you gave time back to when we decide to cover the question and answer session. Thank you so much for that. All right. So we're going to turn over next, and we're going to move to appraisals, covered by Lieutenant JG Select White.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm HM White. So I'll be covering interview appraisals. So with the interview appraisals, just know that per the instruction, it's recommended that your CO appoints and convenes a board of 3 members, 03 or higher, and one of the people have to at least be from the MSC community, not within your chain of command. If your command cannot support this due to some sort of operational restrictions or obligations, then you as the applicant would have to then find 3 qualifying board members that meet that criteria. Just know that you'll have 3 options for your appraisals. So the most common one and most preferred is going to be that in-person face-to-face. If you're not able to do that, then the next best alternative is going to be an electronic media. So something like Zoom meeting, Microsoft Teams, WhatsApp, things like that. And if you still can't do some sort of face-to-face time, then you're going to want to do telephone. So those are going to be your 3 options. Just know that your appraisals have to be typewritten and signed. The new version that we're working off of is revision 2 TAC 2022. So make sure that you're going to the MSC website to actually get the most updated information. And just know that the appraisal sheet can now be digitally, electronically signed by whoever your appraisers are. Know that the technical knowledge evaluation on that appraisal sheet is not something that MSC has to actually do. So when you're going through your appraisal, just know that a lot of evaluators or appraisers will actually leave that portion blank. Your appraisers will be evaluating attributes or personal characteristics that they can speak on 6 specifically. They're going to be looking at program motivation and career potential. And they're going to have 2 blocks to really be able to expand on their thoughts of your personal encounter with them. Some possible obstacles that you might encounter during your appraisal might be things like nervousness, ill-prepared responses. This is in regards to What do you know about the community? Various scenario-based leadership questions. Why do you want to be a part of a certain community? Why do you want to be a naval officer? This is all stuff that you should have spoken about in your personal statement and what so have you. Also know that some people, their boardsmanship doesn't go well just because they're not used to public speaking, stuff like that. So really work on your military bearing and maintaining that composure, eye contact, making sure that you exude confidence, but not overconfidence. And then also with your FaceTime, if you're not able to do a face-to-face and you have to use electronic media or a telephone, make sure that you check out your connectivity and make sure that telephones are working. If you're deployed, sometimes there's restrictions and telephones are down, internet is down. Make sure that you have enough bandwidth. If you're actually deployed overseas, make sure that you can get out to a hotel and find a nice quiet place, stuff like that. Other tips, practice, practice, practice. Do mock boards, anticipate certain questions about the Navy, current events, news, nav admin's instructions that might impact the community, so you can intelligently articulate and be able to enunciate to best present yourself to your appraisers. And that's all I got for you. Thank you.
Wow, that was awesome. You actually brought up things that I never even thought about. Man, that was good stuff. So we left a minute on the table for that and 3 minutes from the other one. Before we move forward to the next one, do any other panel members want to add to appraisals? If not, we can move forward. You got 1 minute.
Okay, so for appraisals, my piece of advice is make sure those individuals who has given you your appraisals, make sure that you have worked with them at some form or the other. If not, make sure that they are not just only lieutenant commanders. Highly advise the commanders and above. When I went through my appraisals were all captains. I only had one commander underneath my appraisals. Over.
Hey, can I say something?
Yes, we have 30 seconds.
Okay, so when it comes to appraisal, it's better for you to get the appraisal from the community you go into because it holds a lot of weight. So when you, for instance, when I was doing, I'm in pharmacy right now, so I'm in pharmacy school right now. So when I was applying to the pharmacy program, I make sure all those appraisals I was getting was towards those are pharmacists. So I make sure the appraisal was coming from the pharmacists because that's the community I'm going to and it holds a lot of weight. So make sure the appraisal are coming from the community you go into. But the letter of recommendation can come from any community, especially when it's the MSC-IPP. But appraisal per se, make sure it's coming from the community you go into. That's all I got.
All right, I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for that input. All right, so we're gonna move forward. That covers that 5 minutes. Thank you so much, all of you, for that one. Let's move next. We're gonna go into, a big one. I hope y'all are ready for this. We're gonna move into the CO's endorsement by our very own Lieutenant Flores.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Lieutenant Will Flores here. Currently I'm a logistics officer, HCA over at the Naval Postgraduate School. So let's just go ahead and get into it. These is going to be pages 9 and 10 of your package. 9 is going to be, this is all discretion to the CO. So I would recommend filling out all the admin stuff on page 9. And then basically all the boxes, the checked, that's going to be, again, at the discretion of the CO. I'm going to talk mostly about page 10, which is their blurb and whatnot. So, and the multiple times I applied, which was a lot, I've seen multiple different ways on how your chain of command, career counselor does this. But what I would recommend is write it for him or her. The CO, when I say CO, I'm actually really saying CO, EXO, and CMC. So really it's for your triad. And sometimes you'll have an interview with them, sometimes you will not. But if you do have an interview with them, please bring all your supporting documents and whatever you need to include so they can get a good picture of who you are for your package. Because again, this is a summarization of your letters of recommendation, your evals, and it really just paints a picture of who you are to the board. So this is pretty important when it gets down to your submission, because the board what is said in this piece can highlight and make you more competitive. So again, try to be concise, because this is an abbreviation of your, again, evals, your letter of recommendations, and the appraisals. So again, not everyone is on their packages. It's not always going to say number 1 of 10 or whatnot. Again, I've seen cases where number 4 out of 7 were picked up and whatnot. So don't get discouraged automatically if you don't see number 1 of however many or whatever the case may be. Okay. Let's see here. So again, if you do have an opportunity to write it out and you get to submit it along with the rest of your package, this might be a great opportunity for you to showcase who you are and how your writing is. And additionally, you can show that you understand the mission and vision of what you do for the command and how it contributes to Navy medicine and joiner operations, and ultimately for maritime dominance. Some of the things that I've included in the past, and this is completely up to you. And again, if this gets accepted by your chain of command, or anything that are like the breakouts, president, FCPOA, letter project, department, numbers usually speak, but impact is what I'm really talking about, because this really shows the potential as a medical service corps officer and a naval officer, and what you are going to bring to the MSC, Navy, medicine, DHA, and the list goes on and on. So try to integrate some buzzwords if you can, like maritime superiority. If you haven't looked at some of those documents, I recommend doing that. The DHA integration, how it serves the spectrum across all domains of warfare and its capabilities. And of course, the Navy medicines for 4 priorities, the SG's 4 Ps of people, performance, platforms, and power. Because when your package goes to the board, right, they're all 05s and 06s, and then you'll have like one person like jotting down, you know, probably like a 03 or whatnot. A lot of them have gone to staff command school and they understand the mission delivered to the DoD. When these things are in your package, these buzzwords, it psychologically reacts with them, and it can pull a response, and it can connect what you're trying to portray to the picture of who you are, and basically it sends a better picture for the board to see when your package is up on the screen. Also, get to know your triad secretary and career counselor. I feel like that shouldn't be said, but a lot of times those connections are crucial, and your rapport helps, especially when more information is needed or you need to ask for edits or recommendations because of any errors that might be in the writing or misspelling and grammar. A couple of times I've actually had to send it back. And because of those relationships with them, I was able to get it back sooner, because this usually happens right before everything gets turned in or right before the postmark date. So make sure you have that connection with those folks or relationship with those folks, and have your electronic version ready to send at any given time, because again, people are always going to be able to edit it. So if you have the structure and you have the bones ready, it's less time for your triad to figure out the picture that they're trying to paint for you. Okay. So if you have the structure already there for them, it's just less for them to have to figure out, which takes less time, which gets your packages back to you. So in the end, I've seen some CO's recommendations sent back to the applicant. And then I've seen some where the career counselor puts the whole entire package together and sends it off. So, so basically, if you do get it back, make sure to read it word for word. And again, sometimes you might not get it back. So you just make sure that you do get some kind of confirmation from Ms. Kemp saying that, hey, you did get that, she did receive your package. And then lastly, what I recommend using a lot, and I see this a lot that doesn't happen, is utilize your chief's mess. All right. And there's a reason why I say that is because they are going to have, they're going to be, they're going to know the style of the triad. All right. And then also they're going to be advising the CMC who advises the CO. So make sure that connection is there. They could proofread your submissions, and they could be that conduit between you, CMC, and CO. In my case, I had a senior chief that connected me to different other officers, and that really helped me get to where I am today. So again, that's a huge, it's a huge tool for anybody to utilize. So that's all I got for the CO's recommendation. Good luck. Don't give up, and reach out if needed.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Lieutenant Flores, thank you so much for that CO's endorsement. We definitely went over 5 minutes, so now we're cutting into somebody else's time. I was gonna say time is ended, but it was so
Sorry about that.
it was so on point that I couldn't cut you off. I couldn't do it. So the human side came out just now. Y'all got me. All right. Let's move forward. Let's go ahead and we're gonna move next to the personal statement, which is another very important document, and our very own Lieutenant Presley will cover personal statement. 5 minutes on the clock.
Hey, sir, before you do that, can I swap with the next person? I need like 3 minutes to pull a document up. So I had to switch to my phone. So
Okay.
if you can
sounds-
skip me and then I'll go after the next person, please.
All right, sounds good. We'll come back to the personal statement. Let's move next.
Thanks, sir.
No problem. We're gonna run into the evaluations with Lieutenant JG Select Andrea.
Thanks, sir. Ensign, but one day, JG, I'll get there eventually. No worries. So 5 minutes for evals. Wow. All right. Let's see if I can sum all that up. So if you're just looking at the checklist, right, I'll just hit that first. 5 years of evals. If you're, a mover and a shaker and you don't have 5 years of evals, send what you got. For those who have those 5 years and you got like a letter or the detachment, and then you got a letter of extension, those kind of things, make sure you have those the consistency or the continuity there. So you don't want to, the board to have any gaps. They should have access to your record at the board in Millington when they take all the records there. However, you don't want to leave that up to interpretation. So that's the simple answer for just looking at the checklist. But if you're going on evals by itself and being the single most important like personnel management tool that we have, let's break that down real quick in 5 minutes, right? So this could be a whole long training in itself. So each eval should read differently, of course. However, when we're looking for MSC-IPP applicants, obviously block 41 is a great way to call it out. But right now, with the ladder just updating and everything changing, you're looking for hard breakouts. You're looking for standing out against your peers and subject matter expertise 100% right now. So the ladder, the convening order, don't shortchange yourself, I guess is what I'm getting at. So, just because you apply doesn't mean you're going to get accepted. So make sure you're setting yourself up for success. The Chiefs board and this board are very similar in what we're looking for, best and fully qualified, things like that, subject matter expertise. If you're not exceeding and, performing at your best in your current job, then how are you going to perform in this? So looking at your convening order, look at your ladder. Excuse me if I talk specifically towards HMs. It's a bias, unconscious bias I have, forgetting everybody on the call here. So when we talk standing out against your peers, obviously there's sailor of the year, quarter, motivator of the month, things like that. Anything you can do to perform and getting that SME impact is what I already said. Getting your warfare clause is another big call out on at least the HM ladder right now. And then, so let's talk about a little bit of, like I said, this is a big chapter to try and squeeze into 5 minutes. So RISCA, if you're brand new on deck and you got to get that eval, you get that welcome aboard P. That is not a make or break as you submit to this board. Your P eval can read like an EP. Know what you need to put in there. Know what you're looking for. Call out stuff like that. You might not be able to grab that breakout number. Your chief's mess or the board that is rating you. Excuse me, my dog's bothering me here. That's rating you might only rank the top 5 and you might not get that certain call out. You're looking to, excuse me, he definitely distracted me. You're just looking for that breakout, and your RISCA, like I said, it's a whole separate training in itself, but if you can break out another way from there, that's another way, having an elevated RISCA against that reporting seniors cumulative average, if you're not familiar with the acronym, excuse me. But yeah, so the P can definitely still read like an EP. And then know how your risk compares to your ITA, your individual trade average in the summary group as well. Let's see. So, when you're writing your evals, know that when you're writing your evals specifically to get, you're trying to build up your record and you're looking for, the best competitive package you can submit, understand, what the board's looking for. You might not be able to perform into an HCA train or, HCA billet type. You might not be able to translate that into it. I see some different rates on here, but if you can get into OJT programs, stuff like that, you can speak to that. But once again, looking for SME impact in your rate. And then, specifically for HMs, one thing that near and dear to my heart was green side commands. One thing I saw is when these HMs would be performing at a green side command, you might have, especially at least at the wing, you have a 1-1, and now you don't get that breakout. You can look for a soft breakout if you're not familiar with that. It's where your chain of command might be able to rank you specifically, not directly in the same summary group because the reporting seniors are different, but one, if ranked amongst peers would be whatever, and that's up to the chain of command, up to the reporting senior to allow you to do that on there. And it looks like there's some good feedback coming out. And yeah, I just mentioned the soft breakout. Thank you, H1 Lewis. So definitely check out the chat. There's definitely some good feedback on here. You only got 18 lines. And once again, what you put in there is you're recommending, you're pushing that up the chain of command. But at the end of the day, that eval is from the reporting senior to the board, so to speak, whatever board that may be, Chiefs board, this board. Know it's about you, but it's not for you in that sense. So, and when I say understand RISCA, sometimes you'll send it up thinking you're, top gun, but it comes back, we have to maintain a healthy RISCA. So get that training on that and understand that piece. Like I said, I could go on and on about evals, but I'm gonna go ahead and stop there because I think I can go on tangents here. So I'd rather not do that. Any questions, throw them in the chat and I can answer them along the way. Thanks for your time, guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And before we move forward, what Instant Android covered is so key. I can tell you all that part of the reason why I know I didn't get selected my first time up was due to evals and as you were talking about dealing with the RISCA. So if you're not familiar with your evaluations and your RISCA, I'll go back to what Lieutenant Flores said. This is where the Chief's mess is so important and having that relationship with your Chief's mess, talking to them and being educated on how important the RISCA is and what is the RISCA if you're not aware of that. Because that package is looked at a board the same way that the chief pit officers are looked at a board, and they are looking at your personnel summary record, everything that's in BOL. They are taking a look at that. So thank you so much. And you're right. I mean, we could literally talk about evals all day long, and 5 minutes is very tough to squeeze it in. But that's why we'll have a question and answer session later. And that's also why we'll have emails in the chat so you all can reach out to these panel members one-to-one to dive in deeper at a later time. So thank you so much, Andrew, for that. Lieutenant, we'll go back to see if Lieutenant Presley is ready. Are you ready now, sir? All right.
Yes, sir, I'm ready.
All right, you got the floor, Lieutenant Presley.
Okay. Good evening. Good morning, everybody. My name is Lieutenant Presley. I'm not going to do introductions because I only got 5 minutes and I want to maximize your time. Just a little bit about myself that is important. Prior to becoming an MSC HCA, I was a naval recruiter. That's where I met Lieutenant J.G. McCauley and Lieutenant Abreu. And we've been doing this thing for a few years now to where we want to give you guys tools you can use and things that made us successful, but also and exchange information for ideas from other applicants. For me, I'll speak fast. That means either listen faster or write fast or record it and go back and watch it. I always tell sailors this when I sit down with them, be brief, be brilliant. And if it's not your first application, be better. But what we want to hear in your statement, in your personal statement, is your bottom line up front. Okay. So if we work with sailors and sailors, we all have junior sailors, and for them, it's what's in it for me. For us at the MSC community, we want to know that too, as it relates to you as an applicant. So if you can tell me in your statement, in the 250 words that you have, which is very limited, as a leader, why do I want you as a peer? Or as a leader, why does my boss need to have you as a junior officer working for he or she? That's the idea that I want you all to write from. In addition to that, it's pretty simple. There's 3 questions. Please answer all 3. If you do not answer all 3 questions, then that's not a complete, well drawn out statement. So we'll go with the first question. The first question is pretty easy. Why do you want to be a naval officer? And I'm going to further expand what that means to me. Why do you want to be a naval officer, a MSC officer, and a particular specialty that you put blood, sweat, and tears in to go to school while on active duty, to also maintain your superior performance, to also help your peers develop, because we're only as good as our peers, right? And our sailors. So if you can explain in that first paragraph, break your statement down to 3 paragraphs. In that first question, explain to us those things, then I would say that that would be a well thought out bullet. When I was a recruiter, I always used to ask sailors that were prior enlisted, tell me when you fell in love with being an MSC officer, and tell me on paper those things that helped you identify that this was the right skill for you, the right choice for you. So that's one. So the second question is, what characteristics and traits you bring to the table from your experience that's going to help you in your journey as a commissioned officer? So on the back of the interview appraisal form, there are, on that NAVCRU form, there are characteristics and traits. So please look at that form that my shipmate, my brother talked about earlier, and look at what traits identify with you. I think another colleague mentioned the 4 Ps. So come up with your 4 things. I like the 4 Bs. Come up with your 4 things so that way you can describe yourself. If you're an LPO, a chief petty officer above, I usually tell people to write from the standpoint, my sailors, if you were to ask my sailors or if you were to ask my mess, they would tell you that I am this kind of person. I can remember Lieutenant J.G. McCauley's statement because we worked on it a couple of times. And he said that this is who I am and this is who I was before I joined the Navy. Once I joined the Navy, I learned the core values. After I got the core values and after I got my values from how I was raised, this is the type of person that I am, and this is what I'm going to bring to the table. For the last piece, please think about what you want to do if you are selected, if fortunate enough to be selected. I say fortunate enough because it is a competitive process. However, it is a very doable process if you take the guidance and tools and apply them to your package. But just keeping in mind, everybody can't be selected. We want the best and the brightest. So I always tell sailors to write from the standpoint of, what do you want to do? If you don't know, you want to be a general ACA. Everyone comes in as a general healthcare administrator. If that's social work, you're going to come in as a social worker. If that's industrial hygiene or rad health or any of the other 31 flavors, please speak to that. Map your career out. Maybe over the next 3 years, I want to do this. Over the next 5 years, I want to do that. And this is what I want to actually, this is where I want to cut my teeth, as we call it. But really just, you want to bloom where you're planted. And if that was sometimes a little bit difficult to come up with if you do not do your research or if you don't shadow or work with MSC officers on a daily basis. But it's okay, because I know that Portsmouth, I know that Camp Lejeune, San Diego, all your large commands have some sort of mentorship and shadowing opportunity set up. And you should have done at least 6 months to a year of time prior to your application of time in Navy medicine. And it's not a non-rate specific or a corpsman specific program. We take the best, the brightest sailors across Navy medicine, across the fleet, and the Marine Corps. So I don't know where I'm at on time, but I'll leave that for you all to think about when you're writing your statement. And then also, last piece, your mentor should be someone that is going to be honest with you about your statement. I would not float your statement to 10 people because you're gonna get 10 different chops and 10 different opinions. So trust your mentor that he or she is gonna guide you in the right direction. And if you do get feedback from your interviews, apply that to your personal statement if that's what they're recommending. But if you give it to 10 people, we're gonna tell you right it 10 different ways. I want you all to understand that when all things are equal, the personal statement is the main piece that is gonna be the separator and the tie. It is the first thing that's gonna flash that the board is gonna read. So that's why I said be brilliant, be brief. If it's your second or third or fourth time, don't worry about it, be better. And give me the bottom line up front. And we call that the bluff. That's my time. Thanks, sir.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lieutenant Presley. And I'll be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to Lieutenant Presley and Lieutenant Flores, because along with Lieutenant Abreu, all three of those individuals definitely helped me in my process, and I'm sure they've helped so many others. So thank you all as well. And there's a reason why I allowed them two specifically to go a little bit over the 5 minutes, right? The human aspect came out is because those two topics, as they just mentioned, are probably your top priorities in your package, your personal statement and your CO's endorsement. If your personal statement is not where it should be, so I mean, you may not even reach to the senior officer level. It has to read to where we know this is what you want. So thank you both for covering those sections and for everything that you've done. All right, we're gonna roll right into our next topic. We're gonna get into extracurricular activities by Lieutenant Imonaju.
Lieutenant JG Amanogu, how's everybody doing? Hey, good morning from Okinawa, evening over there. I am currently here at the Naval Hospital Okinawa as an operations officer. I will say I was commissioned, I was a prior aviation bosun mate handler, and I commissioned after 19 years of enlisted service. So for those of you non-corpsmen out there, or those that have spent a lot of time and been enlisted, this program is also for you. You just have to make sure you put out your good foot out there, and that we are not biased in selections. Just do your job. So talking about extracurricular activities today. So let's assume that all packages in front of the boards are equal and they want to find out more about this individual, right? These are where your extracurricular activities come into play. These are additional areas where you can sell yourself to the board and inform them of other things that you have going on. So if you look at your package on page 4 on the block 27, you have those 5 lines on there, which shows extracurricular activities. A couple of inputs that I have for you on those sections is your extracurricular activities, being that you are going into a competitive program, right? You want to make sure that what you are capturing in those areas are things that can actually make you competitive when matched up against your opponents. So you can put basket weaving in there, but how does basket weaving really help you, right, within this program? Those are the things you want to think about. Now, I look at it as your extracurricular activities need to communicate leadership. It needs to communicate your experience in healthcare for those who have it. It needs to communicate your ability to manage. It needs to communicate your skill set, whatever those skill sets are that you can bring within the community. And also needs to show other things such as your associations, those sort of things. If you are here and you're going for the HCA program and you're not part of ACHE, I don't know what to tell you. That being said, ACHE, put that plug out there. So just think of that as you go. Other common errors that I see when looking at packages for extracurricular activities is when you write these, understand that we want to not only know what you're doing, but how well you're doing it. And the overall results of how you are impacting the community, big Navy, right? So kind of like in the eval format, this is what I'm doing, this is what I've done, and so forth. So I'll give you a good example. Extracurricular activity, you decide you want to put command career counselor, right? Just listing command career counselor on there does nothing for me if I'm reviewing this package, but you can write command career counselor, brief this many program, helped with this many packages for this many sailors, which increased retention rate by this much percentage, right? And it gives the viewer that, okay, this person has really impacted this command while holding on this position. That should also be where you list. And again, you pick what those extracurricular activities are going to be. And my general advice is make sure that when you're matched up with your fellow applicants, that this communicates to the board, you have a great understanding of the community that you want to join, and that they look at it favorably as, okay, this person's a great contender, and you're bringing something to the community. So make sure you have that overall impact in there. Additionally, so aside from block 27, where else can you list your extracurricular activities? There are lots of us. When I applied for this program, I had too many extracurricular activities. 5 lines were just not enough for me to list my extracurricular activities. And I wanted to ensure that I had every one of them in there that meant something within the package. So depends on how you write it. Extracurricular activities could be in your personal statement, depending on what it is. Extracurricular activities can also be highlighted through your appraisals. For those, I had an appraisal talking about my involvement in different communities. I was part of a Mississippi Public Health Association. I was part of ACHE. I was part of a lot of associations in healthcare. Someone captured that within my letter of recommendation. My CO spoke a bit about other activities that I do, right? I led the entire sentinel surveillance testing for COVID. I didn't have enough space. So you can insert those extracurricular activities multiple places within your package, and not just this block, but you want to make sure that they are meaningful and they have the substance to make you competitive when matched up against your peers. So that is the little bit I have for now. Don't really want to take up too much time. But again, if you are here, I assume you already desire to be in this community. So just keep on pushing, and we are here to assist as much as we can. Thanks. That's my time.
Thank you so much. And we do have 1 minute left in this section. If any other panel member wants to take 1 minute to add anything to. If not, we'll push forward. All right, sounds like we're pushing forward. Good to go. All right, so next we have special abilities. And looks like our instant select Lewis will cover special abilities. You got the floor.
Right, team. What's going on? I'm HM1 Lewis. I was selected for the HCA training route through Baylor. And so I'll be going over special abilities. There's, as you can see, there's 3 lines. And for me, this is probably one of the hardest parts of the package because it just seemed kind of vague. But the way I interpreted it was, what special abilities do you have as it pertains to the specialty that you're trying to go into? So for me, healthcare admin, I just tailor all my special abilities to things that would add value to the medical service corps community through healthcare administration. So for HCA, for example, you want to be able in things like business operations, public health, medical planning, and even things like IT. So whatever special abilities that you put within those lines, this is just basic Navy eval and package writing 101. I would just have something in your miscellaneous attachments that show proof that you do have that special ability, as opposed to just writing it down. I'd also add like a cert. Having it in your eval is fine, but the way I look at it is the board is going through hundreds of packages. It'll be better just to have something that like stands out in the form of a certification. So some like special abilities that I can foresee, being an asset to the healthcare administration community is like things like an excellent trainer. So if you put excellent trainer in that, like LT was just saying before me, you kind of want to elaborate on that, like what makes you an excellent trainer. Do you have your MTS? And even beyond MTS, because I know like a lot of sailors haven't had the opportunity to go get their MTS. Are you a facilitator of any sort? Like in preparation for this package, I went and got a full speed ahead 3.0 facilitator certified. And, you know, I definitely put that in there because I can see how being a good facilitator can be of asset as a healthcare administrator. Also, like project management, that's one of the things that not only are going to be good for an HCA, but DHA is really pushing for project managers. If you look at the DHA Care Point, a lot of the trainings that they have are, you know, process improvement based, Lean Six Sigma, and PMP. So I would just go to that Care Point site, sign up for that PMP course. You'll get your 45 hours. Navy Cool pays for the PMP certification, and you know, definitely add that into your package and add that as one of your special abilities, because that's where you want to foresee where DHA is moving, which is like, that's the future of the tri-service medical. So you want to be involved in that future. So if they're pushing for PMP and Lean Six Sigma, I suggest, you know, staying abreast with that. Also, even though I'm healthcare administration and not public health, those two communities kind of intertwine. So another thing that I went and got is like board certified in public health, which is like another thing that I suggest, you know, if you're applying for HCA or public health, that you should probably get board certified in public health. It's an exam. Minimum is a bachelor's degree in a healthcare related field. So that's a good special ability to, you know, have. And yeah, I can keep going on and on, but I think that's like the beans and bread of the situation is you want to just make sure that your special abilities are aligned with the community that you're trying to get into and can add value to the community as a whole. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And back to the panel. We have 1 minute left on this topic. If anybody wants to add anything too, if not, we'll move forward. All right. Seems we'll go ahead and move forward. Good to go. Thank you so much for that, Instant Select Lewis. Next, we will have, a biggie, a real biggie, package etiquette. This will be covered by Lieutenant J.G. Yao.
Good evening, good morning, everyone. I'm Ensign Select Yao. I was selected for direct commission for medical laboratory science specialty. I'll be going over package etiquette. Last year was actually my first time applying, and there were a lot of things I learned, especially regarding package etiquette. I apologize in advance if my topics may jump from one another or may repeat some things other panel members may have said, as I have my thoughts listed. But first things first, with package etiquette, the first thing I did to start, I created a binder, my own personal binder. It was very personalized, and I put little tabs on there, like little folder dividers, and I labeled them by each like package requirement, like last 5 evals, CO's endorsement. So that way it was easy to carry around. And if I had asked like other people to review my package or things like that, it was easy to show them for a temporary purpose. Another thing is with package etiquette, you want to have a biography, a CV, and your last 5 years of evals ready. And when you have these for your evals, make sure you are blocking out PII on your evals, including your reporting senior. What else did I learn? One other thing I learned, and this is actually a trick that my command career counselor taught me, was there were some typos I got during my interview appraisals when they turned it back into me. There was like little typos in there. So he actually taught me a way to like fix little mistakes. For example, if one word isn't capitalized, missing periods, things like that. If I'm pretty sure most government computers have Adobe Acrobat, and you are actually able to edit that text and change that. Just those little typos, and it doesn't really mess with the meat and potatoes of your interview appraisal, and also LORs as well. Let's see. when you are drafting LORs and your CO's endorsement ahead of time, when you email it to that person, make sure you explain to them that, sir, ma'am, this is just a draft, and you are free to make any edits that you see fit. Another thing I'd like to add to Lieutenant J.G. Emenagu earlier, he was talking about big impact items. What you can actually do to add that to other parts of your package. For example, you can't fit it in those collateral duties or special abilities, things like that. You can actually ask your CEO to include that in their endorsement or the people writing your LORs as well. And also you have to remember that those things are also on your evals. So a lot of the times when the board members are looking at it, there's multiple places that they can see that you're doing those things. With your personal statements, make sure you have running edits. So with running edits, you want to have a lot of people review your personal statement. Again, this is all about you and how you see things, but it's good to have multiple people look over it. And sometimes the version you had beforehand might actually be better than your current one. So always keep your running edits. All right. Now that I talked about those things, I'm gonna do a screen share to kind of go over a couple more detailed items. Let's see. Do this. Share a screen, share. All right, so this is actually, I don't know if you guys can see it. I actually created a cover page for my package. I believe it does say that it is highly recommended to have a cover page. So this is what I did. And I made like a table of contents as well. So that way for the board members, it was actually easier for them to see how my package was separated. As you can see here on part 3, interview appraisals and LORs, I named who the people were for my package, what was their core, their specialty, and if they were an important person, like a specialty leader, I also identified them in there. So since I applied for lab, there's not really a lot of 04 and above. Actually, 83% of them are 03 and below. So I think it was kind of understood that there was only like 3 captains in the specialty. So it's okay to have a lieutenant commander, but she was identified as a specialty leader. With interview appraisals, they did say, from what I understood, was they have to be in the medical service corps, and you need to have at least 2 of them within the specialty that you're applying for. So that's what I had. I had at least 2 lab officers and 1 other MSC officer. I come from a smaller command, so I didn't have like a board. I actually had to reach out to these people myself to be able to get interviews with them. Another thing, let's see. I don't know if it's going. All right, so this is actually the cover sheet that they have. I think HM1 McLean actually posted this on the MSC-IPP Facebook page, an example. And on here, if you have new email addresses, you can actually put that on there as well. During that time, my command was migrating to the health.mil, so I made sure to include that there so they knew my most current contact. Your CO's endorsement. One thing I learned, and I actually learned these from one of my colleagues in my command who also applied, there's a statement that they have to have for the CO's endorsement, which has like that recommendation statement by the CO. They need to make sure that they identify which program they're going into, and that they are serving on full duty without limitations, and they need to also address the physical fitness and BCA requirements. And this was actually on the instruction on the OpNav 1420.1 Bravo. Okay, let's see. For the lab folks, I don't know if there's any lab applicants here. So if you notice on the form, medical laboratory science is actually not an option. But this is how I learned using Adobe Acrobat. You can actually edit a choice out and change it there. Ms. Kemp actually said you can even just draw a box and write it out, but I didn't like that, so I did that so it looks better. I took out the pharmacy option and I changed it to medical laboratory science. And other things, let's see. Oh, there you go. For your personal statements, what I was told is it's easier for the board members to see like your word count if you actually put how many words there are on there. So your word count is right here. Another important thing is this statement right here. My date of birth is 16 October 95, age computed to 1 October of the fiscal year in which selection board is held is 26 years, 11 months, and 16 days. So that's actually required to be on your personal statement as well, per the instruction. Other things with empty blocks like that, always make sure you put NA on there. So these are those interview appraisals. Again, Adobe Acrobat is your best friend on that. LORs, with LORs, when you're doing LORs, you draft it for them first. Always make sure you don't ask them to do it for you last minute. Give them time. Actually, you guys should probably be starting that now. Draft the LORs and the CO's endorsement ahead of time. Email it to that person. Make sure you identify, hey, this is just a draft and you are free to make any edits to that. Let's see. Evals, sorry about that. Oh yes, with evals, make sure you're blocking out those PIIs, especially when you're sending it to, when you're networking, you know, you have to send them your bio, your CV, your last 5 evals. You don't want to spread PII like that, so make sure you block them. Award verifications. In my case, I had like an award that I actually hadn't received yet. It wasn't in my record yet. However, it was pending signature and it was going to be backdated. So what I did is I had my admin officer write me an award verification letter that I was selected for SSOQ, and they actually took that, and it still counts towards your package.
Now we have 15 seconds.
All right. Addendums over here. Yes, you have your addendums. Things that don't fit on the actual application, make sure you create an addendum. Your prims, you can make, especially for cycle, was this 2021? The time when prims was in there. You guys can make a memo as well. That's all I have.
All right, thank you so much. And packet etiquette is huge. It's covering the entire package and making sure that you pay attention to the little things. So thank you so much for that, Instant Select Yao. I promoted you, but you'll get there. I promise you. All right, so we're gonna move forward. We're gonna go into our process/specialties. So we're gonna start with HCA direct route, and covering this section will be Torgerson and Tinnigassoon.
Good morning and good afternoon, everybody. I'll turn it over, the first half over to Lieutenant J.G. Select Torgerson, and I'll take off the last aspect of it.
All right, good morning again, everyone. So really the biggest things for HCA Direct, as far as the process goes, is thoroughly understand the OpNav instruction, the program authorization, and the requirements in those. You know, there's required degrees, required specialties or concentrations that are required for that program, all listed out in those instructions. You can see them right up there on the board. Nigel has those all up there for everyone to see. I'll use my example. I started going to a school. Got about a third of the way through the program, found out I didn't have to write accreditation. So I completely, MSC, HCA is exactly what I wanted to do. So I had to drop that program, start a new school, start the whole program all over. So make sure you're looking at those fine details, combing through those instructions, making sure those programs are CAMI accredited, AACSB accredited, the CEF accreditation. Make sure you have one of those and make sure you're meeting those final details. I can't say it enough. It'd be horrible to just finish your degree and realize you spent 2 years going to school to not reach the goal that you're shooting for. So make sure you've combed through those instructions, comb through those fine details, and shoot for it. Go ahead, Nigel.
All right. Good night and good evening again, everybody. So a couple of pieces that I will highly advise applicants when you see they're looking at putting in your packages together. To make you competitive is making sure you have a very good GPA. According to the program authorization 115 Bravo, it says it requires you to have a GPA of 3.0 or better. Just remember, you are competing against everyone that is applying. So just not just part of the appraisals and the LORs, but you also have to look at the academic side of it. And that speaks volumes of who you are on the academic side of the house. All right. So again, GPAs is a very important piece, and that's written out straight out from the PA 115 Bravo. And I will tell y'all, I was never a school person. And when I was doing my master's, I had to buckle down and get my my GPA up there. All right. I also wrote out a very short references. It's written in the nav admin of the 2 things that you want to look at. And again, this is just supposed to provide a small overview, but the program authorization 115 Bravo and the UPNAV 1420.1 Bravo Chapter 6 is a very important pieces of documentation together with your nav admin, right? And with that piece, I would leave everybody with a small piece of information on a positive side note. Remember, develop success from failures. Discouragement and failures are 2 of the surest stepping stone to success, according to Dale Carnegie. So you have to fail before you succeed. And that's, I think everybody heard that throughout all the other speakers thus far. And they were saying how many times all these things are written. And according to Lieutenant Select also said, make sure those degrees are accredited by those accrediting bodies. That's all I have.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we look forward to those of y'all applying for the HCA Direct session route. We're going to move forward next, and we're going to go to the HCA training route with Lieutenant JG Selectigo, or I'm sorry, Instant Selectigo and Select Andrea.
All right, who wants to go first, Brandon, or you want me to go?
Go for it.
I'll go ahead and I'll step it off. All right, so I'm currently in the Baylor MHA program. I'm Ensign Teagle. A couple of things I wanted to point out about Baylor real quick off the bat is they do have a dual program, an MBA MHA program. I wasn't selected for that. My GRE score was a little too low, but they do have that option if you score high enough on the GRE and GMAT. So to also piggyback off of that, a lot of people tend to shy away from the GRE and GMAT. I know a lot of people that applied last year that said, I don't want to apply for Baylor because I'm not sure if I can score well enough on the GRE or GMAT. But I wouldn't give up on yourself if you feel like you can take that and do well, then go ahead and take your shot, because even me, I scored a 293, which is below the 300 recommendation. But you can always apply for waivers. So I applied for a waiver for Baylor and I was accepted into the MHA program. One thing I recommend is if you do plan to request for a waiver from this prior at Army Baylor, you need to do it early. So take your shot on that GRE or GMAT. And if you score a little bit under, you can try to take it again, but also request that waiver early. Some advantages that you have to applying to Baylor, like I said, I talked to a lot of selects or candidates looking to apply last year, and some of them said, oh, I don't want to apply because I don't want to take the GMAT or GRE. By applying to Baylor, you essentially double the slots that you're eligible to fill. So if you don't apply to Baylor, you're potentially missing out on slots that you could fill. So I wouldn't pass that opportunity up. You also get access to the Baylor network once you graduate from the school. Two other non-Baylor things that I wanted to shout out real quick was I know Lieutenant JG Macaulay is going to do a training on this, but HSCP, which is PA 132, is another good option for training route. But we'll cover that at a different time. And then also the NAVMed MSC-IPP website has a really great FAQ. Some of the info is outdated, but there's also a lot of really good points in there. So I would utilize that resource.
And I'll follow up with USU. USU did recently drop the requirement for the GRE. However, I'll give you a kind of disclaimer there that, you know, you might not take it, you might not need it, but it could be between you and another person on that board, and they might have a GRE score and it might set them above that. So, you know, take it, give it your best shot, a well-prepared shot. I did not study for it, but took a good swing at it, and it worked out. But what I am here though too is to sell you on USU, because I'm not gonna lie, I applied to the AEV, I got the AEV, I started doing my MBA at UT Tyler, great school, and I had to pay all these different fees and everything with it. And I was like, you know, I'm over this. I'm just gonna apply to this and see how this works out. And wow, 100%. Just imagine, I want to paint a picture for you. You go to work and your work is school. That's it. You're a commissioned officer in the Navy, and you ain't got no duty. You don't have no sailors. That part's a little hard to adjust from, coming from being a chief, that sailorization, but you can still reach out and find it ways like this. But that's your job, right? Like, you're going to school, you're applying 100% of your effort there. And I get time with family. Definitely the most time off in the service that I think I've ever had, as far as like 2 weeks for Christmas. Hey, you staying in the area? Go ahead, chill. So it's a great program. If you are interested in like research and going for your PhD, definitely they have a strong focus on that. And you have so many subject matter experts here in this DMV area, and they actually show up here. The first director of the DHA is actually a professor here. He's already taught in one of our classes, and he came into multiple of them. We have multiple people just rotate through here, and MHS, you know, researchers, our professors here, they work in the area and they come and they teach these courses. Outstanding course, outstanding school. And if you think you can't succeed in this academia environment, you want to just try and do it on your own time, and that might work better for you. Thought the same thing. I'm not gonna lie, 100% happy with my decision. So that's all I got.
Wow. I don't know about you all, but now I'm kind of wishing I had went to USUS or Baylor now. Wow, I'm jealous. All right, good stuff, good stuff. All right, let's go ahead and move next to our next specialty, which will be PA training route, which is Incident Select Militichi, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Hi again, everyone. My name is H2 Militichi. I got selected last year for the PA program. It was a very dreadful process, but I hope you guys can bear with it just as well as I did. I just want to say, first things first, this is not a master's degree training program. As you mentioned, if you look over the facts or the PA authorization, they're gonna, or not the PA authorization, they're gonna require that you have to take the SAT, not the GRE. Now, the PA authorization may say that SATs or standardized testing may not be required. That's where people get confused, because you hear SAT, but then the PA saying you don't have to take it. They mentioned that little blurb that the accrediting institution who's going to oversee the program for IPAP may require it, and they do. The University of Nebraska is going to require it. So if you have any confusion, you have to take the SAT. Minimum of 1,000, so make sure you definitely pass on the SAT. It's one of the first things they're going to look at. Especially with these training programs, they're really looking that you're going to academically succeed in these programs. Not that you're just going to be a leader, that you're going to be a leader, but that you're going to succeed, because it's a lot of schooling, it's a lot of training. They want to make sure they're not putting money into it if you're going to fail out. You might be the best individual, the best leader out there, but if you're not going to pass these courses, you're wasting their time. The PA program, the PA program is, you have to take 60 semester hour credits, which is mentioned in the FAQs, the facts. It's pretty spelled out. It's pretty clear. There are going to be 30 generals credits, and they're going to let you know that the college algebra, the English composition, A&P, they spelled out those for you very easily. The ones that get really confusing are the 18 advanced credits, and then the 12 general electives. There was at some point, I was like, what are considered general electives? Which 18 advanced courses do I choose from? And at that point, I was like, well, what's the best courses. So I ended up going to the IPAP curriculum page to where those are the classes you're going to take if you get selected. And I try to mirror the classes I took there with the classes you're going to take at that program. So that way you are prepared when you get there, and it shows the board you're already taking those high level courses that they're going to expect you to pass. So if you haven't already, go onto the IPAP curriculum page. You can just Google IPAP curriculum and it'll pop up. I'll include the hyperlink into the text below. Again, I just mentioned the GPAs, their minimum is 3.0, but if you're only hitting 3.0, you're probably not going to be as strong of a candidate as those that are competing with 4.0. Again, they want to make sure you're going to succeed in the program. It's going to be 2.5 long years. You want to make sure you definitely pass. Once you finish your 60 semester hour credits, again, you don't need a master's degree, you don't need a bachelor's degree, you just need 60 credits. You're going to submit all your transcripts into the IPAP online application. And that is strictly for academic eligibility. You're not going to put any of your extra stuff on there. That's what the physical package is for. You're strictly putting in your transcripts, make sure all your courses are being registered, and make sure those transcripts are sent directly from the university to that, directly from your university that you've taken it to the University of Nebraska. They'll have directions for you to take it there. Do not try to input them manually or upload them because they will reject it. The hardest part for this for me in regards to this online application was to make sure that my transcripts are accurate. If you go through multiple institutions to get your credits done, I had 3: Montgomery College, Purdue University, and AMU. If your last institution will list credits you've received from other institutions, like AMU said that I had 30 credits from Montgomery College, but they didn't spell Montgomery College correctly, or they used the wrong college. So when they were trying to verify my transcripts, they told me to go back and edit them. And to go back and edit them, you have to reach out to the school directly. So make sure all your transcripts are accurate, or you're going to hit that obstacle that I did as well. It's going to take a while to validate. After you submit your application, it's going to take about 3 weeks for it to validate, and Ms. Kemp will send you an academic eligibility sheet to let you know that it's been verified. After that, you're going to continue with your hard copy application, just like we've all mentioned this last hour. But to make your package stronger, I recommend going to your MillSuite page, millsuite.mil, and go join the MSC community, and then the PA community as well. They have their own page that you have to apply for. There's going to be a bunch of courses on there that you can list. They have the rudder on there and courses they expect these officers to take. One of them being ATLS, ALS, ACLS. If you can put those on your packages, it's already showing you're performing at their medical prowess. And that's pretty much all I have in those 5 minutes.
Awesome. You did great. And I think that's awesome because that's the one of the specialties that I know when I get questions about for PA, I can't answer majority of those questions. One, I've never been the route, and 2, it can definitely be confusing if you haven't done it. So thank you so much for coming on here speaking on that. And for those of y'all that are going PA, we'll have a question and answer session later, but I highly recommend you get his email and reach out to him directly. All right, so we're going to push forward and we're going to go into our medical laboratory specialty with Ensign Select Yao and Select White. You have 5 minutes.
Hello, everyone. So we're going to be going over the lab requirements. I'm going to screen share again, okay? Ensign Select White, you can join in whenever too. Let's see, where'd it go? Oh. How do I move this down? There you go. All right, so for the medical laboratory science, applicants must have a qualifying bachelor's or master's degree from an accredited university with a cumulative GPA of 3.0 or better, and a current medical laboratory scientist certification from the American Society for Clinical Pathology. Preferred candidates will have a science-based degree, and applicants must have taken 4 college-level courses in biological, chemical, or natural science with a GPA of 3.0 or better. A preferred candidate will have at least 3 years of supervised laboratory experience in the MTF over the most recent 6-year period. This is actually an updated one. It used to be only 5 years. So one of the big things with medical laboratory science is the certification. So the ML certification is actually pretty hard. It's a test you have to take. I am on the ASCP page, And there's different routes to get it, but the main thing, so your university has to be accredited by the NAACLS right here, because that's the requirement to get your certification. There's different routes. I took route 1, which is to get a bachelor's degree. A lot of people that I know who have like prior military medical laboratory training course. So it's like a successful completion of a 50-week US military training course. So if you're a lab tech within the last 10 years, and you have a bachelor's degree from a regionally accredited college or university, the main thing is you have 16 semester hours, and these are what you need specifically. And a 1 year of full-time acceptable clinical experience in the following sections of the laboratory. So there's multiple sections in the laboratory, and you'll need to ask ASCP what type of proof they may require, either like a letter from the department head saying that you are trained in the following sections or have experience in those. Your laboratory, you have to be accredited by all of this, which most bigger laboratories or full service laboratories are accredited. My clinic, actually, we're a moderate complexity lab, so there's certain things that we don't have. For example, we don't have blood bank, we don't have microbiology or immunology, but we do the basics like chemistry, hematology, and urinalysis. But because I had experience from my last command, which was a full service hospital, I reached out to those lab officers and they were able to get me waivers for my school, and that's what they took. April, do you have anything else to add?
No, honestly, you hit the nail on the head. So, yep, that's basically it.
Yes. So if there's any other questions for lab, you can save it for the questions later, Q&A. That's
Awesome.
it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And then last but not least, another very important specialty that we get a lot of questions about, licensed clinical social worker. We have Lieutenant JG Select Law. Or Lieutenant JG Law.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Ensign Law, JG in June, so that's coming. But social work near and dear to my heart, obviously. But when it comes to our program, I think it's such a short little blurb in the instruction, and they don't really give you everything. So I'm gonna let you guys in on some of the secrets. So this program, you should have a Master's of Social Work from an accredited university. Your accredited university, the accreditation is the Council on Social Work Education or the Commission of Accreditation. So you're coming in already with that Master's of Social Work. What you're asking for is to become part of the fellowship program, which is a 24-month program that allows you to get your hours for licensure. To be an LCSW, a licensed clinical social worker. Those hours are based on the state. So whatever state you choose, that is the instructions that you're gonna go by. All the Navy does is provide you with the clinical supervisor and the opportunity to work with patients to get your hours that you need. At the end of the 24 months, you're gonna test in whatever state you chose, for your licensure exam, and you have to pass it at that 24-month mark. So as far as packaging goes, for our program, historically, I've seen 2 to 3 people pick up with alternate. For my selection, I actually was the alternate in 2020. And they bumped me up to selectee. So they selected all 3 of us. So if you're the alternate, don't be discouraged. You might get that call about 2 weeks later saying, you know what, you're in. For the package, really, you have to figure out what about you is going to break you out, because we all have a Master's of Social Work. We all went to really good schools. We all have great GPAs. And then we all want to help people, because that's what social workers do. Want to help people. But what else? What else do you have? who else are you? What is it that's gonna make me say that I want to put this person in a situation where they're dealing with patients who have anxiety, who have depression, who are dealing with moral injury, who are suicidal, who've been through sexual assault, military sexual trauma. What about you says that you're equipped to handle that? Remember, this program is not teaching you how to be a social worker. You already come in knowing how to do that because you have a master's degree. What this program is doing is teaching you the military side of the house. So some of the important things that you might want to include is all of the experience that you got in your clinical rotations during your master's. Make it translate to something in the military. For example, my clinicals were in a maternity shelter for women 18 to 24 with 2 or less children, and also an inpatient unit for children. Military social workers don't work with children, but I had to make that translate. So what did I learn while I was in those clinicals that benefited me now? And I will tell you, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about being patient, a lot about talking someone down. I learned a lot about different modalities that can be used. I learned, you know, how to handle someone that may not be in the best situation. And that translates over very well to the military population. You want to talk about the modalities that you already know about. So if you were in your clinicals and you were working with cognitive behavioral therapy, if you were working with DBT, if you were working with acceptance therapy, if you were working with solution-focused therapy, use those words, buzzwords. That's what you need. Sound like a social worker in your statement. Put that somewhere in your package. It don't matter where, just put it in there. Make sure you sound like you know how to diagnose somebody, like you know how to diagnose depression, or like you know how to diagnose schizophrenia with psychotic features, like you know how to diagnose mania, like you know how to diagnose alcohol use disorder. Make it sound like you know how to do that, because you do, because you have a master's degree. Any CEUs that you've already gotten. Let's see.
20 seconds.
And really, say it again.
20 seconds.
Okay, and really speak to what the military is going through right now. Put your finger on the pulse of the military. What's happening right now? We have an influx in suicides right now on our ships. That's an issue. Speak to that. How do you plan on making sure that you leave your mark on the military's mental health situation? And that's all I got.
Wow. I don't know about you all, but that kind of made me want to go be a social worker. I'm proud to serve with you in this medical service corps. That is awesome. Wow. Thank you so much for that. All right, let's move forward. So I'm sure this is what a lot of people have been waiting for. I know that there have already been some questions in the chat, so I won't go back, but this is the time now, and we have a max of 15 minutes time. So this is the time now for everyone that's online. If you have a question, either raise your hand, like press the little hand button, or come off audio and speak, or put it in the chat and we can go. So the floor is open for questions.
I actually just had a comment.
Okay.
Trying to start the video. So I'm HM2G. I was selected last year for EHO as an alternate. Still waiting to see if I'm going to be selected or not. I just kind of wanted to touch on what HM1 Yao said. Me and HM1 Yao are at that small command together, so we didn't have boards to help us with our interviews. So I highly suggest to start finding people now to interview you. I think me and HM1 Yao both started, I think, January with our package, and we worked nonstop until our final submission date. Another thing I wanted to say, just something personal for me in my package, my bachelor's degree was not, my grades were not the highest with my bachelor's, but my grades were higher with my master's. So my CO pulled me aside before she submitted her final statement, and she wanted to ask why my grades were so bad, because she wanted to speak to that in her endorsement letter, because that's one of the first things the board sees. So she had her statement of why my grades were so bad for my bachelor's. And I also put it under the waivers portion as well, that, you know, dealing with the recession, mother losing her job, had to work 2 jobs of my own. This is why my grades kind of sucked, but that's not indicative of who I am now. Since then, I've graduated with a 3.6 in my MPH program, things like that. So if you had kind of crappy grades in your undergrad, but you had better grades in your master's, I still wouldn't hold yourself out, because I'm proof that, you know, that works. So that was just one of the comments I wanted to say.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. And we're definitely rooting for you to get off that alternate and come right onto that selected.
Listen.
Thank you so much. All right. I see a few hand raises, so I'm just going to go in order. If you have questions, just hit the little hand raise button and I'll get to you. I see a HM1 Miller. You have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. H1 Miller, longtime lurker of the MSC-IPP mentorship pages. This is my first year that I'm planning to submit. I finished my MHA program next month in March. My question was in regards to conditional releases from the enlisted community manager. I know a lot of people that I've talked to, especially in the HM community, due to manning levels, have been having issues getting that conditional release. My question was, right now I'm on my 3rd request for this year's submission. If my conditional release isn't approved, is it beneficial to still submit a package over to Ms. Kemp and get my name in front of those board members, you know, get your name out there? Or does that show kind of a lack of understanding of the process? Is it beneficial, or would it hinder someone in that situation?
All right, panel, who wants to take that one?
I would like to speak on it a little bit, and you guys can tune in on this as well. From my experience, and I've only applied one time, but I was pretty much told that if you don't have a conditional release, it is best not to apply, because even if you got selected, the ECM is not going to release you from the community. Although if you get a denied conditional release, it's not the end of the world. One of the applicants that got selected for my command with me initially had her conditional release overturned, and it's worth the effort to talk to your command senior chief, command master chief, to see what they can do to help you get in contact with that ECM, vouch your case, and see if you can get that overturned.
Can I add to that, sir?
Absolutely.
All right. I actually asked this question to Ms. Kemp last week, and I ask it every year because it is the #1 showstopper for all packages. So what I can tell you all in truth is, if you submit the application without an approved conditional release, your application will not go to board. The ECMs are going to come in and collect all those applications that do not have a 1306/7. And the person before me was correct. Submit it, get it in writing. Some forms come in email, but also get it on that 1306/7. Give it enough time to work for you. So I would, if I were applying today, that would be the first thing I would route. And also use your chief or equivalent of your ECM as your advocate. If it's a first class, use your chief. If it is a senior chief, use your senior chief. If it's a master chief, use your master chief. If your CMC and your chief and your CO are all supportive, and your career counselor, and you're still having issues, please have your khaki community reach out to the Force Master Chief, Force Master Chief Roberts. He is our senior IDC representative at that force level. He is very interested in maintaining all corpsmen within the corpsman community that are quad 08404, specializing as techs. So there's 40 C schools, 27 with bonuses and SRBs. However, I did ask him that question 2 weeks ago, and he said, yes, we support corpsmen becoming officers, specifically if they're going from a tech to a rad health or a lab or a corpsman going to HCA or whatever. So just have the chain of command work for you and be your advocate. And that is one thing that will help you out in the future.
Awesome. All right, we're going to get ready to move to our next question. And also, because there are non-medical rates on here, for those of y'all that are non-medical, what they just said, same thing applies to you. Use your chain of command, go through your ECM, and see if you can get it overturned if that's the case. Thank you, H1 Miller, for that question. Next, we will move to, I'm just gonna say, shipmate Dutro, because I don't see a rank, so I'm just gonna say shipmate Dutro.
Hello, my name is HM2 Lealoha. So I actually have two questions that I kind of need guidance with. I've gone back and forth with the instruction on chapters 2 and chapter 6 regarding the transcripts. On one part, it states, I want to say it's chapter 6, it states original student copy needs to be sent with your package. But then if I go to chapter 2, it says an official transcript with the raised seal. So I'm trying to just figure out which one is accurate, how I should be sending that in. That's the first question. Second question being regarding block 25. I've had my package reviewed by a few members and I keep getting conflicting feedback saying to input my A schools and C schools. However, in the instruction, it states, list any service schools that were attended for a 2-week duration, not listed on my SMART transcript. Being that it's listed there, would I just put NAs in those blocks, even though it is applicable, but it's listed on my SMART transcripts? I'm just trying to make sure that I'm following the details, since attention to detail is pretty critical with this.
Absolutely, and great question. All right, we'll turn it over to a panel member who would like to take this.
All right, good night and good morning again. Okay, first piece, your transcripts. Once you see you order it from the school, use the original transcripts from the school with the raised seal. And that's one thing that we all had questions about when we were applying last year. And Ms. Kemp clarified that with us. You order the one from there, and that's what you include in your package. Just make sure that you put your enclosure number on that transcript so that you know which part it is going into your folder. It is very important. And that goes together with your JST. In line with your question about block 25, quite personally, I annotated every one of my professional schools that I applied to, that I attended. Because the most important thing is that you want to show that, yes, I understand what you're saying, but I'm also letting you know that these are the things that were also important to me, as per like these are the schools I had attended, right? So they have an idea of who you are and what you have done. In my case, I did AMDEC, I did the Marine Corps Academy for the senior enlisted, and a couple of different ones, and I highlighted those. And then any of the other subsequent ones, I put that as on an addendum sheet. Did that help answer your question?
It did, thank you.
Oh, very well. Here for you.
All right, awesome. And one thing I will say, because I didn't say this in the beginning, for all that are applying, do understand that this is your package, and every panel member that's up here, their journey is all different. Everybody's journey is going to be different. So, and I say that because I do know in my package, I did have my transcripts, but they were not sealed. They were open, and that was okay that year. So I will always say, if you always at a bare minimum, and I think we all can agree to this, if you at a bare minimum get something either in writing or from Ms. Kemp or HM1 McLean that's up there, then you're good to go. So do understand that, because the instructions is the instruction, but every year could change based on what Ms. Kemp and the NAV admin has put out. So thank you for that question. Thank you for that response. We'll move to our next one. I have a, and then H1 Miller, if you could take your hand down unless you have another one, but I have a Mr. or shipmate Freeman. Shipmate Scott Freeman, if you're there, your hand is up.
Thank you, first of all, for all of you guys joining into this and actually giving us advice. More so from there. So I'm currently greenside. I'm a little bit worried about the letter of recommendations, and then I'm also worried about the actual the on-the-job training, essentially. How exactly would I get into that, being on campus soon, if anybody has experience with that?
All right. Hey, it's this is Chief Kitoon. hit me up offline and we could talk a little bit about that. I guarantee you that we could work something out between yourself and the hospital, because there is a mentorship program that we have down here. It's not much widely used, but we have a whole host of Mustangs. All right. So we could talk more about that.
All right. Does anybody else want to add anything while we're here?
Yeah, let me add something to that. So for I get that a lot about internships. Some hospitals like San Balboa has a full internship program, others don't. And that is not a deal breaker for your package. Again, for folks like myself coming from aviation community who were nowhere close to a hospital, one thing I tell people is you have to create your own path when it comes to these things. You know what the program requires. What are you doing about that? So I use myself, for example. I knew I wasn't going to get any TAD to a hospital to go do an internship. So for my capstone project, being that I wanted to be in this program, I spent 3 weeks in Uganda, right? Everybody might not be able to go to Uganda to, do those sort of things, but I had a goal. I knew, okay, this is how I would get my experience. And then also within the hospital clinic at my base, I volunteered after hours to be part of the CSIB team, just to get some of those involvements. So you have to work with what you have there and don't assume there has to be this internship course with their certificate. We don't all get that opportunity. Get with the closest MSC, talk to them about your intentions, shadow them, let them know, hey, I want to gain some experience from you. Include them into those letters of recommendations, appraisals, where they could speak on and say, hey, this person has shown interest in this field and they have worked with me in these certain areas. When I did my program, I actually had a form which was signed off from my mentor showing all the different fields that he has covered with me and that I've been familiar with. So you have to create your own path in a lot of these, and don't just assume that if you don't take this path or that path, that it's not possible. That's all I've got.
Can I add one more thing too?
Yes.
So down here in Lejeune, we a couple of different MSC communities that we have. We also have Med Battalion, which is literally right down the street from you probably. And there is a lot of HCAs there. And there's a lot of information that we could gather and get that we could, expose you to. Because the thing about HCAs, we just don't only work in one specific field. Like I work at the G3. Right, so I'm the senior PARMI on the enlisted side for the entire MLG. So what I do is that I manage operations. At the same time, I have a senior PARMI who works hand in hand with me. So there's a whole host of different pieces of the equation, and the same thing over at the different units. So that's why I said we could talk a little bit offline, and I advise everybody. The different units, they have HCAs there. The only thing is just getting in touch with them, because again, it's all about networking and seeing how you could actually grasp those pieces in together.
And I'll add the last piece to back up the two gentlemen that spoke before me. If you are finding that you're not able to get the recommendations or interviews set up, just reach out to Mr. McCauley or myself or any of us really, and we will put you in touch with people that can help you. We'll do Zoom, we'll do Microsoft Teams. For myself personally, I know I went from DC to Jacksonville, Florida, and also to Charleston, South Carolina, to sit and do 30 to 45 minute to 2 hour interviews. But it cost me some time and effort, but it paid off dividends for my application as I was selected. So if you're in Camp Lejeune and we can't get everything in Lejeune, which I think they have a well-diverse group of talented folks that their name means something, we can do a partnership at Portsmouth because it's not that far. And we do have a established program where you can do a mentorship, or we can send our data to Lejeune and see if that's something they're interested in getting started. But don't let that be your hurdle. Just reach out and let us know specifically, hey, I'm missing 2 interviews, or hey, I'm missing a recommendation letter. And we will put you in contact with people that can help you.
I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for asking the question. All right, so due to time, I see 2 more hands raised. We'll take those 2, and then we'll go into closing remarks. And then again, the emails will be here for further on discussion. All right, so next we're gonna go to ABE1 Philip. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Thank you. I was just saying thank you for organizing this event and having these great minds to set up this event, because I'm really interested and I'm glad to see some fellow ABs that's in the chat that was able to cross over and make it to this community, because that was my biggest concern, is how do I get into this community? I'm a recruiter out here in South Florida, in Fort Lauderdale, and Intact, Miami. My question is, I have a friend who's a local recruiter. She told me that there's specific people. She sent me an email. There's a fiscal year 2023 approved MSC interviewers. So are these the only interviewers that I could go to get appraisals from, or can I go to anybody that's a lieutenant commander or higher?
Let me, if panel, if you don't mind, let me take that real quick. So, because I know exactly where that's coming from, and I know Lieutenant Presley is well aware. So for the recruiting side, which we are going to have a recruiting Zoom next, for the recruiting side of the house, there is what they call a interviewer list that they have to use for recruiting, because we fill our billets through recruiting as what you do, as well as from in-service. So the in-service side, there's not a special list that you can only use. We recommend that you reach out to your junior officers that will then vet you, and then reach out to the senior officers to get you those interview appraisals. But on the recruiting side, which again, we'll have a Zoom for that, there is a special list that's for that, because you're dealing with a huge population of civilians that are trying to join at that point. So you, through this program, can use any of the MSCs that are within the entire naval organization.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
No worries. All right, and then next our last but not least, we'll move to shipmate Hatfield.
Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. I'm AIM-1 Hatfield. I'm currently on transfer leave to San Diego. So I'm asking because I ran into an issue last year where I had a CO turnover shortly before submitting my package. And so the CO's recommendation, I didn't know whether I should have gotten the CO's recommendation from my previous CO or the new CO, or just turned the previous CO into just a letter of recommendation. And so I was just kind of curious on your thoughts on that.
All right, panel, let's get after it.
I'll
Go ahead,
take it.
Presley.
I'll take it. So you want to get your current CO's buy-in, because why? Because that is the person that is going to get notification first that you're selected. So if he or she has no idea that you applied, it's a very tough ask for a commanding officer to, with no time, allow you to transition outside the command. For example, this applies for a lot of fleet sailors. Say you leave one ship and you go to another ship. That ship is operational in its nature. It has a mission, and they may have to gap your billet if you leave. That adds no value to that CO, and he or she has the right to refuse allowing you to commission. I would say that if you're going to be transparent and honest, and you want the process to work for you, get a recommendation from the previous CO, show that to your new CO, bring all your correspondence and your package to that meeting through, if you've got an ops or a DFA or a XO, and have your department head present that to that CO, and then understand, if it's an operational command, how this is going to add value to his or her mission. And 9 times out of 10, they will support. They're going to get a replacement eventually, but if they are leaving the pier next week and you're commissioning the week after, your billet's going to be gapped, and they're not going to want to depart if you're in a 1-of-1 or critical billet. For my corpsman folks, same thing applies. If you're going hospital to hospital, or sea duty to shore duty, or green side to blue side, you need to make sure that your current CO, that when you turn your package in at the end of July, has approved and wrote a recommendation. I can't stress that enough. It's it's something that I've seen where applicants have not been able to commission. Or if they wanted to commission with their year group, which right now some people commission is December, they would not have commissioned in December if that CO could not support. So they would roll all the way through September and hopefully commission before then.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, to add to that, so understand this is pretty common, right? As sailors, we have to move. And so oftentimes we run into these situations. The key thing here is communication, right? No command wants a surprise. A sailor just arrives and, oh, we have to submit the sailor who just got here for this package. So the key thing is informing your gaining command ahead of time. Hey, you know what? I am currently in this process. I have to transfer. However, I need your help in getting me across the line, so they understand the roles they have to play as well. I was in that position. I worked it out. And also the way you word that letter of recommendation from that new CO really matters as well, because yes, he has to endorse it, right? But majority of the work you've done has been under another commanding officer. So you have to make sure your detaching CO has a very well-written letter, and then that also feeds into basically the new CO, who is just going to be going based on a thorough review of the package. This individual meets all requirements, and and kind of piggyback off of that. So the way it's written matters as well, but you have to communicate with that gaining command so they know exactly what's coming and their part in that process.
And Tristan, I admitted something too, and he jogged my memory. If you are applying for an officer package, you should be letting your detailer know. What that should do is buy you time to not get orders while in the selection phase. So once you get your approved 1306/7, your detailer needs a copy of that. And they should not give you orders until after the selection cycle. So if you're selected, no orders given. But then if you aren't selected, then they can negotiate with you for orders, extend you at your current command, or whatever you got to do to get new orders in the application cycle.
Hey, great discussion here, and he hit the nail on the head. That's why I gave you a thumbs up. You got to let the detailer know. And I will say, I was actually in that situation as well. The detailer, I let the detailer know. They actually did still give me orders, and I transferred. But as soon as I got to my new command, the first thing I did was let my lieutenant colonel. I was down at Camp Lejeune. First thing I did was let my lieutenant colonel and my CMC know that, hey, I had already sent the application off for this program, so I may or may not be here long. And so I was very transparent with them. I did get selected, and it sucked because you develop that relationship with your sailors and the Marines or wherever you're located, and unfortunately you have to go off to do fortunately go off to do bigger and better things. But yes, definitely let the detailer know, and the detailer makes that decision. It's in their hands. If they want to move you, they move you. If they don't, I agree, they probably shouldn't, but it really depends on what billet that needs to be filled. Because remember, the detailer is there to keep that command going, those commands going with billets. So great question, great dialogue. We have no more further questions at this time. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn over to our closing remarks, and we're just going to go down the list as what we did in our sequence of events. So I'm going to start with Lieutenant J.Z. Select Torgerson. These are max 2 minutes, but give us a closing remarks. If you could tell anything to these sailors based on everything we talked about, what is your last final remarks? You got it.
I mean, just don't give up, keep grinding. If you fail, submit again, submit again, submit again. And some of those little hurdles that we have in our packages, don't let that deter you from submitting. I personally had medical waiver. I used my block 3 on the personal statement to discuss how treatment of said medical waiver made me a better person, better leader. So be clear and keep going.
All right. Next, we got Sister White. If you can leave us with some closing words.
So really, I would just say, be confident, know that you have a purpose and you have something of value to add to the community. So speak to that, speak to, the things that make you unique, and just be the best you can be, honestly. That's all I got.
I love it. Straight to the point, but exactly what it needs to be said. All right, Brother Lieutenant Flores, closing remarks.
Don't forget about your enlisted career. Keep it moving until you commission.
Absolutely right. Absolutely. Brother Lieutenant Presley, closing remarks.
We are looking for the best and the brightest. We're looking for the most talented. There's 31 different specialties we have to fill. As I alluded to earlier, I'm looking for the best peers that I can pick up the phone and call, whether in Japan or whether down the street, that can help my boss and I get the yes. So you all have that. The Mustangs carry the torch, and we actually shape it how we want it to be coming in. So be humble in your interviews, be humble in your approach, but also be confident and know that you've done your time, you made an informed decision, you've educated yourself, and now you're ready to transition. And I will see you all in the war room for those selected. And thank you all for your help and participating. This was probably one of the best organized ones I've done so far. So thanks, Tristan.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother. Next, Brother Andrew, closing remarks.
So if you're on the edge, just take that leap, and that's when that growth is going to happen. So take a chance on yourself and go for it. That's all I got. Thank you, guys.
All right. Enjoy that Eustace up there. I'm still jealous. Brother Houdini, closing remarks.
Hey, just to highlight, if you are applying to this program, I always want to make sure that people understand you are going against the best of the best of the best of the best, right? Sailors of the years, chiefs, even, it's so many Marines, name it all. So always put your best foot out there, and be sure to put the best products you have into this packages. Take it very serious. I always tell people, I said, there's a meeting a requirement and there's actually building a package. So don't just meet the requirement and submit this package. You got to build the package knowing who you're going up against. Reach out to us if you need assistance, and take the time to actually make those networking contacts that are gonna work with you further down the line. We are here to assist. Preparation is key. All right, that's all I've got.
Awesome, awesome. And for the panel members, if you can, go ahead and put your email addresses in the chat so everyone can already have them if you haven't already done that. Ensign Select Lewis, closing remarks.
Yes, first off, thanks for having me. And then I would just like to say, when you're doing your appraisals, make sure you're authentic. You're being yourself. You have tact, but you're not a robot. Like all the LTs already said, they're looking for a peer, someone who they'll be able to call and whatnot. So they're going there try to be like a cookie cutter, like, oh, this is what I think MHA should be. No, just be yourself, have tact, and it'll all work out. And don't be afraid, just submit it. I was afraid, and I was like, whatever, I'm just roll the dice, and it worked out. So yeah, that's it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Sister Yao, closing remarks.
First, thank you for having me. My closing remarks, first, be humble. Start your package early. If you haven't started yet, you're late. Network. Don't drop your pack and continue grinding no matter what the result is. Grow where you're planted and make sure you help each other out if applicable. Review, double check and triple check your work. So that's why, like, that deadline, my deadline was the week before the due date. The important thing is that postmark date. Lastly, I wish you all the best of luck, and I hope to see you guys soon on the dark side.
Awesome. All right, Brother Kassoon, closing remarks.
All right. Again, I think everybody else said it, but remember, when you see you feel discouraged, just look up and just know that you could still make it. Right? Don't let discouragement be a downfall. We are always here to help. Reach out, talk, no matter what. Times is going to be rough and times are going to be tough. But the thing about it, you just got to put that nose to the grind and keep it pushing. All right? And as I say, reach out. Kill.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, brother. And Brother Teagle, closing remarks.
Just revise, keep that package building, keep building on it as it's been said. And don't be afraid to reach out to those networks, because a lot, like I think 60% or greater of the MSC community was prior enlisted. So don't be afraid to reach out to that next MSC.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Brother Melatici, closing remarks.
I mean, I'm also just gonna wish you guys the best of luck. Just don't give up. This process is just absolutely dreadful, but I guarantee you it is worth every ounce of energy you put into. You're gonna have late nights, you're gonna have early mornings, but please do not give up. Like, you do not want to leave with what ifs. If you have what ifs on the table, you did not try hard enough. I've got a kid, I'm a single dad, or I'm a single father. So I take care of everything, and I was going to school. It was just absolutely dreadful, going day in, day out, trying to take care of my kid, trying to balance all of my work. It was just awful, but it was worth every ounce of sleep that I lost. Last piece of advice that I can give is use each other as well. Those that are applying, if you know someone that's applying as well, talk to them. Be like, hey, what information did you get from your mentor? I got this. What did you do? Hey, can you review my package? Or just use each other, because when I applied last year, I had one HM1, her name's, well, I won't mention her name, but she got accepted last year as well for HCA. And although I was going with PA school and she was going to HCA, we use each other a lot to check our own packages to make sure we're getting the same information and then turning that information to our own package and building each other and building our own packages. So use each other and don't give up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we have Sister Law, any closing remarks?
I would just say, remember your audience, remember who you're writing to. You're not writing an eval. You're not telling the board about the cupcakes that you sold for the JEA. You're talking to 04s, 05s, and 06s. And really telling them why you want to be a part of their community. It's theirs. They hold it dear to their hearts. So tell them why you should be there and what you're going to bring to the table. Focus on what you can change. Your evals from 5 years ago is nothing you can do about that. You got a P, you got an MP. There's nothing you can do. Put it in there. Focus on what you can change. Focus on the things that you can adjust. Focus on the experiences that you can get. And then for the social workers, come on over. The world needs you, but the Navy needs you too. Come on over. We're a small community, but we're doing great things, contributing to mental health. DHA is revising the things that we're doing for the better. And the Navy needs you. Thank you.
Love it. I love it. Y'all see, she did that recruiting plug out there. I love it. and I want to say I'm remiss because I see a name here that I think we never got connected with. So I don't want to leave you out, and I'm sorry that I didn't get you added sooner. But Lieutenant Select Zuki, would you like to add any closing remarks? Because I know you're in the pharmacy program and we never got your specialty in, so I apologize for that.
It's okay. It's just school. School's hard. So when it comes to being a pharmacy, basically what I'm going to say is believe in yourselves. Okay. Believe in yourself, believe in yourself. Nothing against the HM, but if you're other rates, you can apply. I was the only one from ABH being selected for pharmacy. So I feel like anybody else can do it. You got to believe in yourself. I said it was one and done, and it was one and done. So that's all I got.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Aviation community is taking over. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get ready to close out. I want to say thank you, number one, to all the panel members for taking time out of their busy schedules to give back. So thank you so much for this. And then I want to say thank you to all who have logged in to view this, again, for taking time out of your busy schedules. I know it's evening / going into the nighttime for those of you on the East Coast. And I'm sorry that we kept this longer than we wanted to, but I agree with a lot of the panel members as we've been talking offline. It's kind of hard to keep things like this short when you're sharing such good information. Many of these panel members could have kept going on and on about their specific topics, but that is why their names are in the chat group. So if you are an applicant, future applicant, I expect that you are taking down their information and you will reach out to them and try to get some further guidance. But again, Thank you all. You all have a blessed evening, blessed night, and blessed day wherever you're located. We are out.